Welcome to another deep dive. We've got a lot of material to cover here about dreaming and the brain, a whole stack of research articles.
Yeah, looks like you've done some reading yourself, so where should we begin?
Well, one thing that stood out to me is just how much activity there is in the brain during sleep. I always kind of imagined it as being, a time when everything shuts down and recharges.
Yeah, that's a pretty common image people have of sleep as this time when the brain powers down, but actually it's just as busy as it is when we're awake, maybe even busier in some ways.
Oh, really? So what's actually going on up there while we're snoozing away?
Well, one of the most interesting things is that different parts of the brain are more or less active during sleep compared to when we're awake. Like the executive network, for
Oh,
example.
yeah, the executive network. That's the part of the brain that handles things like logic and reasoning, right?
Exactly. It's the network that helps us plan, make decisions, and generally be sensible.
So what happens to it when we're dreaming?
It basically goes offline. It takes a break, which is probably why dreams can be so illogical and full of unexpected twists and turns.
So that's why I can never seem to make sense of my dreams.
Yeah,
It all makes sense now.
exactly. Our rational minds take a backseat, allowing our imaginations to run wild.
So does that mean other parts of the brain are working overtime to compensate?
Not really compensate, but it's more like they get their chance to shine. Like the imagination network, for instance, becomes much more active during dreaming.
The imagination network, what does that do?
It's the network that's associated with creativity and making connections between different ideas. So when it's more active, it's like our brains become these incredible playgrounds for the imagination.
That's fascinating. Is that why we sometimes wake up from a dream with a brilliant idea or solution to a problem we've been struggling with?
It very well could be. It's like our dreaming minds can tap into a wellspring of creativity that we don't always have access to when we're awake.
That makes so much sense. I've definitely had those moments where I wake up from a dream and think, wow, that's actually a great idea. I need to write that down.
It's like our inner critic finally takes a nap and our inner artist is free to create.
I love that. So what about our emotions? I know I've woken up from dreams feeling incredibly moved or even heartbroken.
That brings us to the limbic system, which is essentially the emotional control center of our brain.
And that's active during dreaming too.
You bet. It's incredibly active, which might explain why dreams can be so emotionally intense.
It's okay. The brain is buzzing during sleep, and different parts are playing different roles.
Mhm.
But the big question is why? Why bother with this whole elaborate dream production if we're not even conscious for most of it?
That's the million-dollar question. And while there's no single definitive answer, scientists have come up with some pretty intriguing theories.
I'm all ears. Let's hear them.
One theory that's particularly interesting is the idea that dreams serve as a kind of threat rehearsal.
Threat rehearsal. You mean like a mental boot camp where our brains can practice dealing with scary situations?
Exactly. Think of it like this. By safely confronting potential threats in our dreams, we might be better equipped to handle similar challenges if they pop up in real life. It's like our brains are running simulations to prepare us for all sorts of scenarios.
That's fascinating. It makes sense when you consider how vivid and realistic dreams can feel. What about those recurring nightmares some people have? Could those be a form of threat rehearsal gone wrong?
That's a great question. Some researchers believe that recurring nightmares, especially those tied to past traumas, could be the brain's way of trying to process those experiences and find a way to cope.
So it's like the dream is replaying the threat over and over again, searching for a resolution or a sense of control.
Exactly. It's like the brain is working through the trauma, trying to make sense of it and find a way to move on.
So instead of being purely negative, those nightmares might actually be part of a healing process, a way for our brains to try to make sense of difficult events.
It's a fascinating possibility, and it highlights just how complex and multifaceted the purpose of dreaming might be.
So it's not just about escaping reality, it's about engaging with it, even the difficult parts, in a way that can ultimately help us grow and adapt.
Precisely. And that brings us to another intriguing theory, the idea that dreams act as a kind of nocturnal therapist.
Oh, I've heard about that one. It's like our brains are doing some overnight therapy sessions while we sleep, helping us process emotions and work through issues.
That's the gist of it. During our waking hours, we often push down difficult emotions or try to ignore unresolved issues. But during sleep, those defenses come down and perhaps even find some resolution.
So instead of bottling things up, our dreams can help us unpack the emotional baggage we carry around.
Exactly. It's like our brains are doing some deep cleaning while we sleep, sorting through our emotional clutter and trying to make sense of it all.
And is there any evidence to support this idea?
Actually, yes. Studies have shown that people who regularly remember their dreams tend to be better at regulating their emotions and coping with stress.
That's amazing. So paying attention to our dreams could actually be a form of self-care, a way to tap into our inner wisdom and emotional intelligence.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. And it reminds us that even though dreams can sometimes feel strange or nonsensical, they often hold valuable insights into our inner lives.
So instead of dismissing them as just random firings in the brain, we should approach them with curiosity and respect, like messages from our subconscious trying to guide us.
Exactly. It's like our dreams are speaking a symbolic language, and it's up to us to learn how to decode it. And who knows, maybe by listening closely, we can unlock a deeper understanding of ourselves and our place in the world.
That's a beautiful thought. Okay, so we've talked about threat rehearsal and dreams as an internal therapist, but there's another theory that really piqued my interest, the idea of dreams as a high-intensity training ground for the brain.
Ah, yes, the use it or lose it approach to brain health. It's a fascinating concept, isn't it?
It is. So tell me more about it.
Well, it suggests that dreaming isn't just about processing information or emotions, but also about keeping our brains sharp and adaptable.
So like a mental gym for those underutilized parts of our brains.
Precisely. You see, during our waking hours, we tend to rely on the same neural pathways, the ones that help us navigate our routines and familiar tasks. But during dreaming, our brains have the freedom to activate different circuits to explore new connections and patterns.
So even if we don't remember those dreams, our brains are still getting a good workout, flexing their cognitive muscles and staying nimble.
Exactly. It's like cross-training for the brain, keeping it agile and preventing those neural pathways from getting rusty. And who knows, maybe this nightly workout is what allows us to adapt to new situations, learn new skills, and even think creatively in our waking lives.
That's amazing. It's like our dreams are helping us stay mentally fit and ready to tackle whatever life throws our way.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that our brains are constantly evolving even when we're asleep.
I love that idea. So speaking of evolving, one thing that's always fascinated me is how similar certain dream themes are across different cultures and time periods. Like I read that people all over the world have dreams about being chased, falling, or even their teeth falling out. Why do you think those themes are so universal?
It's a great observation, and it gets to the heart of what makes dreaming so compelling. You see, while our individual dreams are shaped by our unique experiences and personalities, there seem to be some core themes that tap into shared human experiences.
So even though we all have different lives, there are certain anxieties, fears, and desires that connect us on a deeper level.
Exactly. Take the theme of being chased, for example. It's thought to represent feelings of anxiety, helplessness, or being overwhelmed.
I can definitely relate to that. I've had my fair share of being chased dreams, and they're always so unsettling.
Well, whether it's a deadline at work, a relationship conflict, or even just the general pressures of modern life, we all experience those feelings from time to time. And those feelings often manifest in our dreams as this visceral experience of being pursued by something we can't escape.
That makes a lot of sense. What about falling? That's another common dream theme I've experienced.
Ah, yes, falling often symbolizes a loss of control, insecurity, or even a fear of failure. It's that feeling of losing your footing, of not being able to support yourself.
And what about the teeth falling out dream? I've heard that one means you're feeling insecure or inadequate in some way.
That's one interpretation, and it certainly resonates with a lot of people. Teeth are essential for survival, for eating, for communication, for self-defense, so losing them in a dream can symbolize a sense of vulnerability, of losing something essential to our well-being.
So it's like our dreams are reflecting those anxieties we might have about our ability to cope, to succeed, to maintain our sense of self in the world.
Exactly. It's fascinating how these seemingly simple dream themes can tap into such profound psychological and emotional undercurrents.
It makes you wonder what other hidden messages our dreams might be trying to convey, and whether we can learn to interpret those messages in a way that helps us live more fulfilling and authentic lives.
That's a great question, and one that we'll delve into further as we explore different approaches to dream interpretation and techniques for influencing our dreams.
Okay, so we've explored some of the big whys behind dreaming, threat rehearsal, emotional processing, brain training. But here's something I've always wondered about. Can we actually influence our dreams? I mean, can we be more than just passive passengers on this nightly journey?
That's a question that has intrigued dream researchers and enthusiasts for centuries. And while we might not be able to control our dreams like a movie director, there is evidence suggesting that we can nudge them in certain directions, that we can become more active participants in our dream worlds.
Really? Like how? Can we actually choose what we dream about?
Well, it's not quite as simple as choosing a movie from a streaming service. But there are techniques that can help us increase the likelihood of dreaming about certain themes or even practicing certain skills in our dreams.
Okay, so what are some of those techniques?
One technique that you might find helpful is called autosuggestion.
Autosuggestion. That sounds kind of like self-hypnosis.
It's similar in that it involves focusing your mind on a specific intention before you fall asleep. Basically, you spend a few minutes consciously thinking about what you want to dream about.
So if I wanted to dream about, say, flying over the Grand Canyon, I would just focus on that image before you go to sleep.
Exactly. You could visualize yourself soaring over the canyon, feeling the wind in your hair and the sun on your face. The idea is that by seeding your mind with these thoughts and images before you drift off, you're more likely to incorporate them into your dreams.
So it's like planting a seed in the fertile ground of your subconscious, hoping it will blossom into a dream.
Precisely. And it's a technique that has been used for centuries by various cultures for everything from promoting healing to enhancing creativity.
That's incredible. So instead of just letting our dreams happen to us, we can actually take an active role in shaping their content.
To a certain extent, yes. It's not about controlling the dream in a rigid way, but rather about influencing its direction, about creating a more receptive environment for certain themes or experiences to emerge.
That's a really empowering thought.
Okay.
Okay, so what about those recurring nightmares? Is there anything we can do to change those?
There are definitely techniques that can help. One that has shown promise is called imagery rehearsal therapy.
Imagery rehearsal therapy. What's that?
It's a technique where you essentially rewrite the script of the nightmare. So let's say you have a recurring dream about being chased by a monster.
Oh, I've had those. Not fun.
Well, with imagery rehearsal therapy, you would spend some time each day before bed imagining the dream but changing the ending. Instead of being chased, you could imagine yourself turning around and facing the monster or even befriending it.
So you're basically taking control of the nightmare's narrative by consciously practicing a different, more positive ending.
Exactly. By repeatedly practicing this new ending, you can essentially retrain your brain to anticipate a different outcome, which can often lessen the intensity and frequency of the nightmare over time.
That sounds incredibly helpful, especially for people who are struggling with nightmares that are interfering with their sleep and well-being.
It's a powerful tool, and it highlights the incredible plasticity of the brain, its ability to adapt and learn, even in the realm of dreams.
Okay, so we've talked about planting seeds with autosuggestion and rewriting the script with imagery rehearsal therapy. But what about actually being aware that you're dreaming while it's happening? Is that even possible?
It absolutely is, and it's called lucid dreaming.
Lucid dreaming. I've heard about that, but it always seemed kind of mystical and out of reach, like something only Tibetan monks or Jedi masters could do.
I know it sounds a bit far out, but it's a very real phenomenon that has been scientifically validated.
Wait, seriously? So you're telling me that people can actually wake up inside their dreams and know that they're dreaming?
Exactly. And not only that, but they can often manipulate the dream environment, fly talk to dream characters, and even explore different dimensions within the dream world.
That's incredible. It's like becoming the director of your own dream movie. But how does it work? Is there some kind of switch in the brain that flips on and makes you lucid?
Well, we don't fully understand all the mechanisms involved, but research suggests that lucid dreaming is a hybrid state of consciousness, a blend of waking awareness and dreaming imagination.
So it's like bridging the gap between two different worlds.
Exactly. And there are techniques you can use to increase your chances of having a lucid dream. One of the most effective is called reality testing.
Reality testing, so like pinching yourself to see if you're dreaming.
That's one way to do it, but there are other more subtle techniques. The key is to get into the habit of questioning your reality throughout the day.
So like pausing every now and then and asking yourself, am I dreaming right now?
Exactly. And by doing this regularly, you're training your mind to start asking that same question even when you're asleep. And when that happens and you realize you are in fact dreaming, that's when the fun begins.
That's amazing. So lucid dreaming is like a skill you can develop, a way to become more conscious in your dream life.
Precisely. And it's a skill that can have profound benefits, from boosting creativity to overcoming fears to simply having more fun and adventure in your dreams.
This is all so fascinating. I had
Yeah.
no idea there was so much to learn about dreaming.
Oh, we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
There's a whole universe of knowledge and mystery waiting to be explored when it comes to dreams.
Well, I'm definitely feeling inspired to start paying closer attention to my own dreams now. Maybe I'll even give lucid dreaming a try.
I highly recommend it. It's an incredible adventure that can open up a whole new world of possibilities.
I can't wait. But for now, I think we need to take a break and come back to this in our next episode. There's so much more to unpack here.
I agree. We've covered a lot of ground already, but there's still so much more to explore.
Exactly. So until next time, sweet dreams, everyone.
Sweet dreams.
Okay, so we've explored some of the science behind dreaming, the brain regions involved and the different theories about why we dream. But you also flagged a bunch of articles about dream interpretation, and I have to say that's always felt a bit more mysterious to me.
Yeah.
Like how do we even begin to make sense of these bizarre stories our brains cook up while we're sleeping?
Yeah, it's definitely a fascinating and often challenging territory. The thing is, while there might be some universal dream symbols, ultimately, dream interpretation is a very personal journey.
So it's not like decoding a secret code where everyone has the same key.
Right. It's more like learning a new language, one that's specific to your own subconscious.
So how do we even begin to learn that language? Are there any tools or techniques we can use to get started with this whole dream interpretation thing?
Absolutely. One of the simplest and most effective tools is a dream journal.
Oh yeah, a dream journal. I've heard of those.
It's as simple as it sounds. Just keep a notebook and pen by your bed, and as soon as you wake up, jot down as many details as you can remember from your dream.
Even if it's just a jumble of images and feelings.
Exactly. You might be surprised by what emerges when you start paying attention to those seemingly random details. Over time, you might start to notice recurring themes or symbols or emotions that pop up in your dreams.
So like if I keep dreaming about being chased by a giant spider, maybe that's a sign I need to confront a fear in my waking life.
It's certainly a possibility. Of course, we don't want to oversimplify things. Not every dream symbol has a direct one-to-one correlation with something in our waking lives. But paying attention to those recurring patterns can definitely offer valuable clues about what's going on in our subconscious.
So it's less about finding a definitive answer in a dream dictionary and more about exploring the different layers of meaning and personal associations we have with those symbols.
Precisely. Let's say you do keep having that recurring dream about being chased by a giant spider. Instead of jumping to conclusions, you could ask yourself what emotions arise during that dream. Fear, helplessness, anxiety. What does the spider represent to you personally? What are you running from in your waking life?
So it's about asking questions and exploring those feelings without judgment, like having a curious conversation with your own subconscious.
Exactly. It's about becoming more attuned to the language of your dreams and trusting your own intuition to guide you towards a deeper understanding.
That sounds a lot less intimidating than trying to decipher some ancient dream code. What about those dreams that are just plain bizarre, the ones that make absolutely no sense even after you've tried to break them down?
Those are often the most intriguing ones. Remember, dreams aren't bound by the rules of logic or reality. They can be playful, surreal, even downright nonsensical. And sometimes that's the point. So even if a dream doesn't have a clear message or meaning, it can still be valuable just for the experience itself, like it's a chance for our brains to stretch their creative muscles and explore different ways of perceiving the world.
Absolutely. Dreams can be a source of inspiration, innovation, and even spiritual insight. Think of artists like Salvador Dali or musicians like Paul McCartney, who drew inspiration from their dreams to create some of their most iconic works.
Yeah, that story about McCartney waking up with the melody for Yesterday fully formed in his head is legendary.
Exactly. It highlights the incredible creative potential that lies dormant within our dreaming minds. And sometimes the most bizarre, seemingly nonsensical dreams can be the ones that spark the most profound insights or creative breakthroughs.
So even if we don't fully understand a dream, we can still appreciate its beauty, its strangeness, its ability to transport us to other realms of experience.
Precisely. And that's what makes dream interpretation so exciting. It's a constant process of discovery, of peeling back the layers of meaning and uncovering the hidden gems within our own psyches. It's like being an archaeologist of the mind, excavating the ancient ruins of our subconscious and piecing together the fragments of our dreams to create a more complete picture of ourselves.
That's a beautiful analogy. And remember, there's no one right way to interpret a dream. It's about finding what resonates with you, what makes sense in the context of your own life and personal journey.
Okay, so we've talked about using a dream journal, exploring personal associations, and even appreciating the nonsensical aspects of dreams. Are there any other tips or techniques that can help us make sense of our dream world?
There are many different approaches to dream interpretation, and what works for one person might not work for another. But here are a few additional tips that you might find helpful.
Okay, I'm all ears.
First, pay attention to the emotions you experience in your dreams. Emotions are often the most direct and powerful language of the subconscious. If you wake up feeling scared, anxious, or joyful after a dream, that's a big clue that something significant is being processed.
So even if I don't remember all the details of the dream, the feeling it evokes can still offer valuable insight.
Absolutely. It's like the emotional residue of the dream, a lingering imprint that can guide you towards a deeper understanding.
That's really interesting. What else?
Another tip is to consider the different characters that appear in your dreams. These characters often represent different aspects of yourself or people in your waking life. They might even symbolize archetypal figures or energies that are at play in your psyche.
So like if I dream about a wise old woman, maybe that represents my inner wisdom or a need for guidance.
That's a great example. Or if you dream about arguing with a close friend, maybe it's reflecting an unresolved conflict in your relationship.
So our dreams can be like a stage where different parts of ourselves interact and play out different scenarios.
Exactly. And by paying attention to those interactions, we can gain valuable insights into our own internal dynamics and relationships.
Okay, this is all starting to click. So it's about paying attention to the emotions, the characters, the recurring themes, and even the nonsensical aspects of our dreams,
Aw.
all while trusting our own intuition to guide us towards a deeper understanding.
You got it. It's an ongoing process of exploration and discovery, and the more you engage with your dreams, the more fluent you'll become in their language.
This is really making me want to start keeping a dream journal.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've been missing out on so much valuable information all these years.
I encourage you to give it a try. You might be surprised by what you discover.
I think I will. But for now, let's move on to another fascinating aspect of dreaming. The idea that some dreams might actually be able to predict the future.
Ah, yes, precognitive dreams. One of the most intriguing and controversial topics in dream research.
I know it sounds kind of far out, but I have to admit I'm really curious about it. So is there any scientific evidence to support the idea of precognitive dreams, or is it just wishful thinking?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, and unfortunately, there's no easy answer. The challenge with precognitive dreams is that they're often only recognized in hindsight.
So it's like we have this dream, and then something similar happens in real life, and we think, whoa, that's freaky. My dream predicted it.
Exactly. But it's hard to say for sure if it was a genuine premonition or just a coincidence. Our brains are really good at finding patterns even where they don't exist.
So how do we even begin to make sense of these seemingly uncanny experiences?
Well, I think the key is to approach them with a healthy dose of skepticism and an open mind. Don't dismiss them outright, but don't jump to conclusions either. Instead, pay attention to the details of the dream, the emotions it evoked, and any synchronicities that might emerge in your waking life.
So like if I have a dream about a specific event and then something similar happens in real life, I should take note of it, but not necessarily freak out or start thinking I'm psychic.
Exactly. It's more about noticing those patterns and exploring what they might mean without getting too attached to any specific interpretation. Remember, dreams are often symbolic and multi-layered. What seems like a straightforward prediction might actually be a metaphor for something else entirely.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's about staying curious and observant, but also grounded in reality.
Precisely. And I think it's important to remember that even if a dream doesn't predict a specific event, it can still offer valuable insights into our subconscious fears, desires, and intuitions.
So even if my dream about winning the lottery doesn't come true, it might still be telling me something about my hopes for financial security or my desire for a change in my life.
Exactly. And perhaps by paying attention to those underlying messages, we can make choices in our waking lives that align with our deepest needs and aspirations.
That's a really empowering thought. So even if we can't control the future, we can still use our dreams as a compass to guide us toward a more fulfilling life.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe in the process, we'll even stumble upon a few precognitive gems along the way.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, from the science of dreaming to the art of dream interpretation, and even the possibility of precognitive dreams. I feel like I've gained a whole new appreciation for the power and mystery of the dreaming mind.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to explore and discover in the realm of dreams.
Well, I'm definitely feeling inspired to start paying closer attention to my own dreams now.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll even give lucid dreaming a try.
I highly recommend it. It's an incredible adventure that can open up a whole new world of possibilities.
That sounds amazing. But for now, I think we need to take a break and come back to this in our next segment. There's still so much more to discuss.
I agree. We've only just begun to explore the vast and mysterious world of dreams.
Exactly. So until next time, sweet dreams, everyone.
Sweet dreams.
It's interesting, I used to think of dreams as these kind of fleeting, disposable experiences, like they'd entertain me for a few minutes after I woke up, and then I'd just move on with my day.
Yeah.
But after going through all this research, I'm starting to see them in a whole new light.
Yeah, it's amazing how often we tend to overlook or dismiss those nightly journeys into our subconscious.
Right. And I really like the idea that we can become more active participants in our dream world, whether it's through things like autosuggestion or even lucid dreaming.
It is empowering, isn't it, to realize that we're not just passive recipients of these nightly dramas, but that we can actually engage with them, shape them, and learn from them.
For sure. But I still find the concept of precognitive dreams so mysterious. Is there any way to know if a dream is actually predicting the future, or if it's just our brains messing with us?
That's the question, isn't it? And unfortunately, there's no easy answer. The thing about precognitive dreams is that they're often only recognized in hindsight.
Yeah, so we have a dream, and then later on something similar happens in real life, and we're like, whoa, was that a premonition?
Exactly. But it's tough to say for sure whether it was a genuine premonition or just a coincidence. Our brains are really good at finding patterns even when they don't actually exist.
Okay, so then how can we even try to make sense of these kind of strange experiences?
I think the best approach is to stay curious but also skeptical. Don't dismiss these dreams outright, but don't jump to conclusions either. Pay attention to the details, the emotions, and any connections that might emerge in your waking life.
So like if I have a dream about something specific, and then a similar thing happens, should I take note of it but not freak out and assume I have psychic powers?
Exactly. It's more about recognizing patterns and considering what they might mean without getting too fixated on one interpretation. Remember, dreams can be super symbolic and have many layers. What might seem like a straightforward prediction could actually be a metaphor for something totally different.
Okay, that makes sense. So basically, be observant, but stay grounded.
Right. And I think it's important to keep in mind that even if a dream doesn't predict a specific event, it can still offer valuable insights into our subconscious, our fears, desires, and intuitions.
So even if my dream about winning the lottery doesn't come true, it could still be telling me something about my desire for financial security or a big change in my life.
Exactly. And by paying attention to those deeper messages, we can make choices in our waking lives that are more aligned with our true needs and desires.
I like that. So we can use our dreams as a compass to guide us toward a more fulfilling life.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe along the way, we'll even stumble upon a few precognitive gems.
You never know.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the science of dreaming to interpretation to the possibility of precognitive dreams. I have to say, I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for how powerful and mysterious our dreaming minds are.
Me too. And this is really just the beginning. There's so much more to learn and discover in the realm of dreams.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive, is there any final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with?
How about this? We often think of dreams as reflecting our waking lives. But what if it's the other way around? What if our dreams can actually influence our waking reality?
Wait, really? You mean that what we experience in our dreams could have an impact on our waking consciousness?
It's definitely something to consider. Imagine if, by intentionally cultivating positive emotions and thoughts before bed, we could actually create a more positive and fulfilling waking life.
Wow, so it's like using our dreams to practice for a better life.
Exactly. It's all about recognizing the power of our subconscious minds to shape our experiences, not just in the dream world, but in the waking world too.
That is a powerful thought. It's like our dreams aren't just passive reflections of who we are, but can actually help us become who we want to be.
And who knows what incredible things are possible as we explore the mysterious and amazing realm of the dreaming mind.
Well, after this deep dive, I know I'll never look at my dreams the same way again. Thanks so much for taking us on this journey.
It was my pleasure. Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams.